Considering my recent 17-minute rant against therapy, it will not surprise you to learn that I do not share modern society's overriding concern for mental health. Now, as I'll explain in a moment, mental health is important, arguably, if we understand the term a certain way, a way very different from how it is commonly understood. But if we accept the popular narrative about mental health, it will lead us to all sorts of unfortunate directions. It leads us, most unfortunately, to a country where some 65 million people are currently taking psychiatric drugs. And in a result not quite as dire, but still pretty bad, it leads us to this article from the website Essence. Headline, nearly 40% of black women have quit jobs because they didn't feel emotionally safe. New survey findings from black women-focused mental health app Exhale found that the group often feels unprotected and discouraged from leaning into their identity in the workplace. Now, we don't have the time to dissect every piece of this, so phrases like leaning into their identity in the workplace will just have to be left alone for now. At first blush, it may seem totally incoherent. I mean, how can you lean into your own identity? Your identity is just who you are. The rather insufferable lean into expression normally means that you're working hard at something, that you're showing great effort and perseverance. How can you work hard at your own identity? And anyway, why is that the kind of work you'd be doing in the workplace? Your employer didn't hire you to sit around and simply exist as yourself. If your boss asks you what you did all day, it'd be a bad idea to answer, well, I existed. I did a lot of existing. I really leaned into my identity. In fact, I'm going to bring my work home with me and continue existing even off the clock. That's how committed I am, boss. Doesn't make much sense. Until you understand that by lean into your identity, what they really mean is do and say whatever you want all the time. And what that really means in context and in practical terms is be a lazy, unproductive. That's what anyone who expresses a desire to lean into their identity in the workplace, that's what they really mean 100% of the time. I know we said we wouldn't spend a lot of time on this, but it turns out that it's a very relevant point, very relevant to the main point, as we'll see as we continue. Quote, black women are increasingly prioritizing their mental health, but it's coming at the cost of their livelihood. Exhale, a well-being app specifically for black women and women of color, recently published its The State of Self-Care for Black Women report and found that nearly 40% of black women have left their jobs because they felt unsafe in their identity. Quote, as black women, we're surrounded with messages telling us we're strong and resilient enough to manage stress, but this survey proves that we are negatively impacted by a lack of necessary support, said Katara McCarty, founder of Exhale, in a news release shared with Essence. Quote, black women cannot fully heal without being fully seen. We need culturally appropriate resources and tools that address the effects of racial trauma on mental, emotional, and physical health. Now, I have no idea if the numbers here are correct. I suspect they're not. 40% of black women have left their jobs because they felt unsafe in their identity. I would have thought it'd be impossible to find 40% of adults in any demographic who would even use the phrase, I feel unsafe in my identity, much less leave a job over it. This is the kind of thing that you might expect a 19-year-old blue-haired Starbucks barista to scream as she storms out of her job because a customer misgendered her. That's it, I'm leaving. I feel so unsafe in my identity here. I can imagine that. I can't imagine 40% of adults in any group carrying on this way. But perhaps I'm being overly optimistic. I don't know. Back to the article, quote, the report analyzed responses from 1,005 black women in the United States and unpacks the stressors they experience every day across various touch points in their lives, particularly in their professional lives. For example, 66% of respondents say that they overexert themselves to excel in the workplace and to take care of personal responsibilities. As Essence previously reported, burnout is prevalent among black women and can often manifest in physical ailments. Quote, constantly striving to be the best of the best while foregoing self-care is really an epidemic among black women. Fauntleroy told Essence in November 2022. She's a certified acupuncturist and owner of holistic wellness practice, The Spirit Seed, and regularly teaches clients the importance of physiological interconnectedness. In layman's terms, she shows people how mental wounds adversely affect our overall physical health. Well, they're really hitting all the liberal buzzwords, aren't they? Unpack the stressors, lean into their identity, touch points, holistic wellness, self-care. I would say that this sounds like it was written by AI, except that the article is not nearly authentic and human enough to have been written by AI. Now, the obvious point is that this is self-victimization on steroids. Here we find another example of this absurd myth that black women somehow live especially stressful and difficult lives. We're always being told about this, how difficult it is to be a black. Can you imagine being a black woman in today's society? How hard it must be. Now, in reality, Black women are already members of 2 privileged classes right out of the gate. And that's before they pad their stats by adding non-binary or obese or whatever else to the resume. It's clear that the left has given up their morals and any common sense. That's why there's no better time to build a daily habit of prayer meditation. Building a habit of prayer can help you cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Focusing on what you're thankful for can increase positive emotions and improve overall well-being. Hallow is the #1 Christian prayer app in the U.S. It's helped me maintain a daily prayer routine. It can help you do the same. Download the app for free at hallow.com/Matt Walsh. You can set prayer reminders and track your progress along the way. Not sure where to start? Well, check out Father Mike Schmitz's Bible in a Year podcast, available on the Hallow app for brief daily readings and reflections, or pray alongside Mark Wahlberg, Jim Caviezel, even some world-class athletes. With Hallow, you can customize a personal prayer plan that works for you. Listen wherever you are with downloadable offline sessions. Using Hallow to connect with others who share your beliefs and values can provide a sense of belonging, support, and foster a sense of community as well. Ultimately, we'll learn how we can become better individuals in spite of today's broken world as we strive to become more like Christ in our daily lives through prayer, fasting, and giving. Download Hallow at hallow.com/Matt Walsh and get an exclusive 3 months free. That's 3 months absolutely free at hallow.com/Matt Walsh. Now, sure, Black women might have stresses in their lives. They might feel overworked in some cases, burned out, so on. But so what? Welcome to life, ladies. Welcome to reality. Welcome to existence as a human person in the world. We're all stressed out and burned out and yada, yada. I have 6 kids to support. I have 2 infants who only sleep for 3 hours at a time. Okay, you want to go toe-to-toe in a stress match? We can do that. I know something about it, but I don't sit around at work or anyone else trying to unpack it and analyze it and talk about it and establish physiological interconnectedness, whatever the hell that means. I just live my life and I do what needs to be done. Handle my business until I die. That's it. That's how life works. Get used to it. Move on. There's nothing special or unique about your stresses. I guarantee you that. Your life is not as hard as you think it is. And even if it is that hard, self-pity won't get you anywhere. So stop moping and get on with it. And that brings us finally back to mental health. The problem with the whole concept of mental health, as the phrase is commonly used and understood, is that when someone says that we should focus on mental health, what they usually mean is that we should focus on feeling good about ourselves and about our lives. When a person complains about poor mental health, they simply mean most of the time that they feel bad, that they feel stressed out, that they feel irritated, sad, whatever. The solution then is to prioritize mental health by doing what makes them feel good and happy and comfortable. But this is all wrong. Bad feelings, stressful feelings, feelings of burnout, feeling overloaded, these are not mental sicknesses. These are not symptoms of poor mental health. These are symptoms of simply being a conscious human agent operating in the world. These are symptoms not of having a sick mind, but simply having a mind. So if you talk about, I have stresses and I have this and I feel uncomfortable, good. That means that you're conscious. That means you're a person. The alternative is what? To be catatonic? Trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings and experiences, that is not prioritizing your mental health, because uncomfortable feelings and experiences do not jeopardize your mental health. In fact, it's the opposite. A mentally healthy person is a person who experiences stress and experiences sadness and discomfort and then continues on functioning as normal in spite of it. In other words, prioritizing your mental health means going to work and feeling stressed out and then coming home and going about your life without whining about it constantly. That's what a mentally healthy person does. The more you complain, the more you shield yourself from discomfort by quitting jobs or taking medicine or whatever else, the more mentally sick you make yourself. Now, in truth, with all that said, and this is the appropriate way of understanding mental health, but I still don't love the mental health versus mental sickness language, even in this context. That's because health and sickness are diagnostic terms. They are medical language. The more that we can take medical language away from the mind, the better. The more that we can separate these two and stop thinking of the mind as this entity that can be constantly diagnosed with various sicknesses, like the way that you could be diagnosed with diabetes or arthritis or something. The more we can do that, the better. A woman who leaves her job because she doesn't feel safe in her identity is not mentally sick exactly. This is a moral defect. This is a character flaw. She lacks fortitude. She lacks perseverance. She lacks maturity. She lacks strength. She's weak. She's a coward. She's selfish. She's shallow. She's actually just sort of a bad person. Okay? If you're leaving jobs because I don't feel unsafe in my identity, you're just you're a bad person. You're not a good person. You're weak. You're silly. You're frivolous. You don't have a medical problem. You have a character problem. This has nothing to do with mental health one way or another. So even when we try to come to a more coherent understanding of mental health, we still find that it misses the point. It's not a useful concept in most cases, because as it turns out, the best thing you can do about your mental health, whatever exactly we mean by that, is to stop thinking about it. Stop making it the goal and focus. The most mentally healthy people in the world are the people who've never thought for 1 second about their mental health or done one single thing for the sake of it. Okay, find me a person who has never uttered the phrase, I'm prioritizing my mental health. That person is way mentally healthier than anyone who has done the opposite. That's what mental health looks like. Whatever mental health is exactly. And that is why everyone who prioritizes their mental health is today, unfortunately, canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.